You've got questions, we've got answers. Hi, I'm Kevin Eikenberry, answering the questions that new leaders ask us. My goal is to help all leaders become more productive, successful, and confident. Today we're talking about an interesting thing. We're talking about how you can learn from a horrible boss. Are you ready? Let's get started. Over the years, I've been asked lots of questions that relate to this idea. Kevin, I haven't had a good role model. Kevin, this, Kevin, that. All of them about this idea of what do I do if I've had a horrible boss, and how do I learn about leadership from them? Well, it's a common thing. Unfortunately, I guess this is part of our mission in life, is to help leaders be more effective, be less horrible bosses. But you know, they're everywhere, and we know that because, among other things, they've made movies about them. Horrible Bosses and Horrible Bosses 2. Well, I've got 5. If you find yourself in that situation, I've got 5 things that you can do that I think will help make the difference for you. Number 1, resolve not to model them. So a lot of people haven't really thought about this, so they just lead the way they've been led, even if they didn't love it. And so the first thing is you've got to resolve to say, hey, that's not how I want to do this. Hey, there's got to be a better way. And so resolve that you're going to go about it a different way. So really what I'm saying first is decide. And then second, I want you to list their worst offenses. And maybe if you have others that you work with, you could even do this together. But like, what are the things about them that make them horrible? And make a list. Listen, it's not everything that they do, but what are the 3, 4, 5, 6 things that really are counterproductive, get in the way, whatever. Okay? So make a list of those things. And then 3, create alternative approaches. So, since you don't want to do those things, write down what you will do in those situations. What will be your approach when that happens? When this happens, what will you do? Now, you won't get it perfect every time right out of the gate, but if you've thought about it and gotten intentional about what you want to do instead, you're less likely to go back and sort of do what you've had done to you. Okay? Number 4, look for patterns. See, here's the reality. I probably should have said this at the front end, but let me say this now. You may have a horrible boss, but they probably don't do everything wrong. They probably do some things okay. In some areas, they're better than others. And so while they may be a, quote, horrible boss, it's really where are they most horrible that we want to focus on, right? Look for patterns. What are the things that seem to set them off, that lead them to be less effective, and make sure that you're not repeating those patterns. So look for patterns. And then lastly, understand their intent and change approach. You know, sometimes those people are doing things that are ineffective because they don't really know any better. Maybe they've never gotten any feedback to know that what they're doing is horrible or not effective. Maybe they're just not very self-aware. Think about the intent behind it. Sometimes their approach doesn't work, but the intent behind it was just fine. So what I'm really saying here is to sort out everything about that person's behavior just a little bit more. Why? Because being a leader is hard. And if you don't already know that, you will. And so I'm asking you at the last one to sort of sort out their intent, understand their intent, and maybe even though it didn't work out for them the way they did it, you can change your approach. 5 things that you can do, even if you have a horrible boss, or even a semi-horrible boss, that you can use to make sure you can learn from them, even if you don't want to repeat what they've done. Let me say that slightly differently as I close with today's tweet. You can learn leadership skills from any leader, what to do or what not to do. I hope my question was interesting and my answer helpful. And if so, listen, there's answers to lots more stuff here for new leaders and those of you who are supporting new leaders on this site. All sorts of free resources. We hope you'll take advantage of them, as well as the paid resources that you can join us in workshops and other things. It's all to be found here. And I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I hope you'll come back for another episode when we talk about answering your questions new leaders have.